Today I entered the tournament in King of Fighters 15, called the Battle of the Den. I didn't do amazingly, but especially my first round went pretty darn well, so I figured I would show it off on YouTube. I think this match certainly demonstrates the power that Kula really has in this game. We start off our tournament with the Icy Queen, Kula, versus Kyo Kusanagi. Flames versus Ice. You see me immediately jump in and go for lows, because Kula has especially good jump-in buttons. Her jumping C plus D is so big, it goes over her and it goes below her. Different angles make the move so strong. But sadly I missed my first medium punch. That could have been a lot of damage. I recommend you really focus on getting your confirms there right. Especially this first game here. It was the first game of the tournament. This is where you are going to see a lot of drops, and well, I definitely had a lot of drops into this Kula versus Kyo round. But you see me use EX, and slowly but surely my converses are starting to get there. After a little while, I decided to slide in, but honestly that was a horrible idea. But sadly my opponent also had a very, very horrible idea and just randomly did a super, which I punished because Kula has pretty decent punishes. With her EX bars, she deals about 1k damage, and honestly that's fine. Just like that, however, we are on the round 2. Kula vs King seems like a pretty good matchup to me. Kula really has solid jump-ins, and versus a character with such good fireballs, you might want to jump in. I noticed the habit of my opponent that wants to press buttons when they're minus, so I just honestly ended up DPing a lot. I also ended up jumping a lot as pressure because King's NTR game, unless you DP, which my opponent didn't really do a lot, it's honestly pretty lackluster. Especially up close. But we win. I very safely managed to chip out my opponent, and we move on to round 3 just like that. Round 3 versus Vanessa. Vanessa's a bit of an annoying character to face as Kula because Vanessa has the ability to crouch punch and slide all under your biggest moves. But if you jump in over those moves, then you're probably gonna end up fine. What I really want to do is be patient this matchup and want Vanessa to go in and hopefully force a mistake from her. Especially as I have such a big lead, I can definitely force those mistakes out of my opponent. Alongside that, no huge offense, but they're not the best opponent ever, so that's another moment if you know your opponent isn't horrible, where you can absolutely force your opponent to make mistakes. But just like that, I made a pretty big conversion into winning the round straight up with Kula. A straight up sweep. Honestly, that was pretty darn good feeling. And just like that, we have another round. Our opponent switches from King to Mary, but our Icy Queen protagonist lives on as the point character, as the battery for my entire team. Will I be able to sweep again? Or will it get obliterated in the flames of Kyo Kusanagi? Right off the bat, we see me drop a couple combos. I could have gotten an EP ender earlier on, but it's no big deal. As long as you get your hits in and claim good positioning, you will at least not lose. Another thing I hate about this game sometimes is though, I want to wake up or run a fireball, and I end up doing DPs. It sucks. However, what you do see is that I very slowly unrust and just have better combos in this round. A lot of longer EX combos are just going on. Even if it's just like 1 hit extra, that 1 hit extra is going to give me a bit of meter, and that 1 hit extra is going to give me a bit more damage. And every bit of damage is appreciated, as you see here, because the chip on Kyo is just so incredibly low. And just like that, only 1 hit is all I needed at this point. So, our Icy Queen managed to knock out Melted, but Blue Mary herself, the agent with a taser. I don't know how to make Mary sound cool, to be honest. What even is she? She's just a blonde girl, I think. Sadly though, I missed the combo for Mary, like, almost immediately. We hate to see it, we hate to see it. However, versus Mary, I noticed that I could stand at a good mid-range and force Mary to make commitments. And that is honestly a lot of my opponent's downfall. Because they were very, very pressy. So if you notice your opponent is pretty button mashy, especially as Kula, you can definitely afford to stay slightly outside of their effective range and press buttons. Because you see me press a lot of buttons, like, for seemingly no reason, but it's to check my opponent's movements. And sometimes I just approach with a low and get a conversion out of that, because, you know, Kula can do that. She's pretty fast, honestly. She's like moderate speed character. However, what makes her really, really good is that her normals are pretty long ranged, and she can get special confirms out of them. Not too many characters can get immediate special confirms from any range, so Kula is pretty privileged in that aspect. However, we are up to round 3. And sadly, I got hit by an uppercut almost immediately. My opponent could have killed me there, but somewhat thankfully he drops a combo. You do hate to see it happen. But the game is hard, I don't blame you, but that honestly should have been the death of Kula. But the only thing we can do is make our opponent pay for it. With an optimal combo in the corner, baby. It doesn't deal like the biggest amount of damage in KOF you'll ever see. But, well, you only need one more after that to get another Kula sweep. So guys, 2 Kula sweeps. I honestly didn't really see that coming. I knew Kula is definitely a big threat, but this is a different level of threatening. Kula is definitely one of my favorite characters in King of Fighters 15, partially because he's just so incredibly easy. What do you guys think of Kula? You want to see more Kula gameplay? If so, I think I'll upload more of this tournament, but for now, I'll leave it at that. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, because that makes me know that you want to see more. Anyway, without any further ado, I've been Zenon, always will be, and goodbye.